and I thought I could just out-train the fat and turn it into muscle. Here's my 3 tips to help you lose 30 pounds and add muscle to your frame. At 25 years old, I weighed 190 pounds, and I thought I could just out-train the fat and turn it into muscle. And it turns out I was wrong. So here are the changes that I made to my life to help me not only lose 30 pounds, but build the best physique of my life and step on stage for a bodybuilding show. By the way, my name is Andrew Brower, and I help busy fathers reclaim their fitness by balancing their life, family, and work. Check out my website in the link below. So the first thing is figuring out your basal metabolic rate. You need to know how many calories you are roughly burning in a day based on your age, height, weight, activity level, all that stuff. There's plenty of free resources that you can Google that will give you a rough estimate of where you should be. And on top of that, you use that to figure out your calorie deficit. And what that means is eating below whatever that calorie limit it tells you is, you need to eat below that. So once you figure that out, then you're good to go. You can start playing around with it. You can start going lower and lower and figure out where you're burning calories each week. But on top of that, I personally didn't cut out junk food. And I know that's crazy to think about, because when you think going on a hard diet, especially to step on a bodybuilding stage, the first thing you would do is cut out the Pop-Tarts, the candy, the donuts, the sweet treats, all that savory food that is just fattening and is going to bloat you and make you feel pretty bad the next day. But I had it all structured into my diet. It wasn't just something I ate whenever I feel like it. It was something that I earned. So I would always have my cheat meal at the end of a hard day. I would do my hardest workout. It would be my most activity. It would be the day I got the most steps, the days that I spent the longest at work. And on top of that, I would make sure that the days leading up to it, I was dialed in. That I was hitting my calories right where they needed to be. That I was eating real, whole, nutritious food, mostly chicken and rice. That I was nailing my cardio. That I was doing all my non-negotiables that I needed to do to burn the fat and get it off of my frame and help me look as muscular and as lean as possible. So that was step number 1, was figuring out your basal metabolic rate, eating in a calorie deficit, and figuring out a time in the week where you earn that cheat meal. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is moving a lot more than you think you need to. People think that going to work all day, going to the gym, hitting 20 minutes on the treadmill, doing an hour of weights, that's going to be enough to really help them burn fat and, build their metabolism up. And it will. And especially for people who are sedentary and don't have a lot of muscle to begin with, that hour in the gym and that 20 minutes on the treadmill, it's a fantastic start. But the problem is you're going to plateau. And you're going to hit that plateau kind of quick. Then you can kind of lower your calories, but you can only lower them so much before you're just starving and you feel like you have no energy. So for me personally, when I was prepping for my bodybuilding show, I worked a manual labor job. I was in a deli. I was moving chickens all day, 60-pound boxes. I was getting 10,000 steps in easily just from work. And then on top of that, I was doing my workouts in the morning, which ranged from about an hour to an hour and a half. And then I was averaging an hour of cardio on the stair climber, on the treadmill. It didn't matter. Going outside and going for a ruck. I was moving a lot. And then on top of that, I was wrestling on the weekends. I was always moving. I was always doing something. And that helped me so much. I spent about 24 weeks, so about 6 months, losing that 30 pounds. And I only dropped about a pound a week. And I was moving significantly more than just about anybody else that I knew. So if you really are serious about losing weight and losing calories and want to get super lean, and I understand getting super lean isn't for everybody, but if you want to get super lean or you want to drop 30 pounds, you're going to have to push yourself. There's going to be days where you just don't feel like it, and you're going to have to get up and go to the gym and do that extra 20 minutes of cardio and do those extra 20 steps. And honestly, moving more than what you are now is better than nothing. I'm not saying you got to be doing an hour on the stair climber. but getting in more steps, getting in that extra 20-minute walk, it's better than nothing. It sounds kind of crazy, but it's better than what you're doing. So give it a try. And one thing to keep note of is, especially as your calories get lower and your movement stays kind of the same, you're going to slow down on burning fat. You are going to feel tired. You are going to feel weak. Thankfully, I felt pretty strong up until like the final month. But then by midday, when I was deep in that diet on the final month, I was toast. You could not rely on me to remember anything or to have any kind of energy. I was struggling. I remember I would eat a meal and I would have about 20 minutes of energy, and that was it. And then I would just have to suffer until my next meal. So, but that's on the extreme side of things. If you're just looking to lose weight, moving more and eating less are the two biggest things so far. And here's number 3. So number 3 is trusting the process. I know it can be hard, especially when you're starting out in that first week. You may not lose a lot of weight. You may not even lose your water weight because your calories are at that base level where you're not really burning anything yet. So you may not see any change. You may not see any change for the first week or two. You may see some water weight come off, and you may see some early success on the other hand. Like when I finished my powerlifting meet and I got back onto my diet, eating regularly and eating my healthy foods again, I dropped 7 pounds of water weight. Like, that was a big change. And I felt fantastic. I wasn't as bloated. I looked already a lot better than what I was when I stepped on the platform, but that was water weight, and I knew that. So once you get past that water weight phase, you need to trust the process. You need to know that you are eating in that calorie deficit. You need to know that you are doing the right things and that you are getting your steps in. And some days it's going to be harder than others. It's a big mental process, because there were weeks at a time when I was prepping for my bodybuilding show where I wouldn't see any drop in weight for like 2 to 3 weeks. But then I would see a sudden drop of 3 pounds the next week. And that was just such a crazy mind game to me that I wasn't used to at that time. But I trusted the process. I listened to the right people. I did exactly what I needed to do. I did my cardio. I ate my meals. I prepped ahead of time. I moved a lot. And it ended up working out great. I personally think I stepped on stage as one of the better conditioned guys, even though I was half the size of everyone else. I was still in really great condition. I looked fantastic. I felt fantastic. And honestly, the diet was still sustainable even after the bodybuilding show. So my calories did come up because, I was done cutting fat and I needed to get kind of to a little bit of a healthier area because 3% body fat is hard to sustain. However, trusting the process is the biggest key. It's going to be a lot of mind games. You may not enjoy it every day. You're not going to enjoy it every day. There are going to be days where it's so tough, you want to give up. But just remember, trust the process. If you fall off your diet, get on it the next day. It's not the end of the world. One of the biggest things the diet taught me was overcoming things and getting past things when I fell off. Because as much as I was disciplined, there were days where I would cave. There were days where I would have that, that I would have that cookie or I would have that extra piece of meat. Where I worked, we gave out free samples all the time. So there were days where I would grab a free sample. I would grab a few because I was just hungry. I was starving. But you need to know that the next day, that day, it was a mess up. It happens. We're all human. But that next day, you just hop right back on it. You don't think about yesterday. You hop right back on it. You get back to it. You focus. You trust the process, and you build and you build and you build. You build that momentum, and before you know it, you're going to be down 30 pounds. You may be down more than 30 pounds. You may be down less. It's whatever your goal is, but wherever you're trying to hit, before you know it, you'll get there. Trust the process. Keep working. Keep pushing forward. The only time that you will fail at this is when you quit. And that's the last thing you need to do. And take it from me, I am a busy man. I work. I got 2 kids. But I sustain my diet. I prep ahead of time. I do the right things. I eat the right things. I look good. I feel good. And I just want to help you feel the same way and experience that feeling that I felt. That feeling of success when you lose that 30 pounds and you hit that goal. It is a fantastic feeling that nobody can take away from you, and you have to earn it by yourself. You can have people along the way who will help you, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to hold a gun to your head and force you to eat right or force you to go to the gym. This has been Andrew Brower with Built Through Balance. Those are my top 3 tips. Please make sure you like, subscribe, follow for more, and have a wonderful day.